500 years ago, long before social media, dating apps, or relationship podcasts, a man named Niccolò Machiavelli found himself alone, humiliated, and forgotten in exile. A Florentine diplomat turned outcast, he was broke, unemployed, and widely ridiculed. Most people in his situation would have surrendered to bitterness, yet Machiavelli did something radically different. He picked up a pen and wrote a work so disruptive, so unsettling, that rulers across Europe quietly vowed never to speak his name again, and the church sought to silence him. Not because he advocated cruelty or evil, but because he dared to expose the truths people prefer to ignore. For centuries, his name has been associated with manipulation, deceit, and immorality. Yet very few have truly read his work, and even fewer have understood it. His writings weren't just about politics or power. They were about people, about the invisible patterns that govern loyalty, desire, attachment, and betrayal. And when we examine these patterns, one question emerges as more relevant today than ever. What did Machiavelli understand about relationships, about attraction, and about women that modern society still struggles to accept? This isn't a cynical rant or a guide to tricking someone into love. It's a careful exploration of human behavior, a study of the forces that drive emotional investment and connection. Machiavelli observed that humans, regardless of gender, are guided not by ideals, but by incentives. He didn't glorify loyalty or virtue. He observed how people actually behaved when circumstances changed. Affection could shift, loyalty could falter, and betrayal could appear, but these weren't signs of moral failure. They were the natural responses of human beings navigating their needs, desires, and risks. When it comes to women, this insight is particularly powerful. Society has long told us that women are defined by romance, selflessness, or devotion. Machiavelli saw differently. He recognized that women, like men, make choices guided by the same fundamental principles: evaluation of risk and reward, seeking safety, fulfillment, and stability. He understood that love is not unconditional, and commitment is not guaranteed. It is earned and maintained only when it continues to meet human needs. Women have historically faced greater vulnerabilities than men: biological, social, and economic. The stakes of choosing the wrong partner could affect safety, reputation, and survival. This created a form of emotional intelligence that is both strategic and instinctive. Women learn to evaluate carefully, to notice subtle shifts, and to make decisions based on long-term outcomes. Far from being mercenary or calculating in a negative sense, this was rational and necessary. Machiavelli's observations reveal that what some misinterpret as fickleness or manipulation is actually an awareness of risk and a drive for security. In every relationship, every connection, every romantic story, there is an undercurrent of negotiation. It is often quiet, subtle, and unspoken, yet it shapes behavior more than any grand gesture. Machiavelli's insight was simple, yet revolutionary. Humans, women included, remain invested where their needs, safety, and well-being are honored, and withdraw where they are compromised. Modern language frames this as compatibility, emotional safety, or shared values, but the principle remains unchanged. Love, affection, and loyalty are not guarantees. They are ongoing exchanges, responsive to the context and the incentives present. Machiavelli's perspective challenges the comforting myths we are often told about love. Many men grow up believing that once love is declared, loyalty is automatic, and once a relationship begins, commitment is permanent. Yet reality rarely aligns with these ideals. Love is not a static promise. It is a living agreement that thrives only when both partners' needs continue to be met. Machiavelli observed that relationships falter not because love disappears suddenly, but because the balance of benefit shifts. Emotional, physical, and practical needs change over time, and people respond accordingly. This is particularly relevant for women who throughout history have been expected to sacrifice endlessly, to forgive without limit, and to prioritize others over themselves. Society often romanticizes this selflessness, while simultaneously criticizing women for having standards or boundaries. Machiavelli recognized that expecting unconditional sacrifice is not virtue, it is a subtle form of control. Maintaining one's well-being, ensuring safety, and protecting personal interests is not selfish, it is rational. A woman who values her emotional, physical, and relational security is acting wisely, not manipulatively. Think about relationships that have ended after a financial crisis, a health challenge, or a major life change. Think about friendships or partnerships that quietly dissolved when convenience disappeared or expectations shifted. Machiavelli would ask, were these betrayals or simply natural responses to changed circumstances? The same principle applies to women in love. They assess relationships continuously, consciously or unconsciously, asking whether staying provides security, stability, and fulfillment. When it does, they invest deeply. When it doesn't, withdrawal is a protective, intelligent response. This approach does not reduce love to a transaction. Rather, it reveals the underlying reality of human attachment. Love flourishes where security exists. Security allows vulnerability, trust, and intimacy to grow. Without it, even the deepest affection is fragile. Machiavelli's insight helps us see that women's choices, often misunderstood or criticized, are rooted in a desire for stability, partnership, and safety, not in superficial motives. Emotional intelligence, not manipulation, guides these decisions. Desire, attraction, and commitment all require context. Surface qualities like wealth, status, or physical appearance are never guarantees. They are secondary signals. True emotional investment depends on whether a relationship creates meaningful, reliable benefits. Emotional support, respect, shared goals, intellectual stimulation, mutual admiration, and protection of well-being. Women intuitively evaluate these factors, shaped by both evolutionary pressures and societal expectations. To misunderstand this is to misread human nature itself. Machiavelli's lesson is clear. Relationships succeed when they align with reality rather than fantasy. Loyalty and affection are strongest where value and security are reciprocal. When emotional or practical support diminishes, withdrawal is not a moral failing. It is a natural, rational human response. Recognizing this truth doesn't make anyone cynical. It makes them aware, compassionate, and prepared to nurture relationships that are sustainable. At the heart of Machiavelli's insight is a simple truth. What women, like all humans, truly seek in a relationship is security. Not the absence of life's challenges, but the assurance that their well-being, identity, and future are protected. This includes emotional security, the confidence that affection will not turn to indifference, relational security, the certainty that loyalty will not become exploitation, psychological security, the freedom to be themselves without fear of judgment or control, and practical security, the knowledge that partnership supports shared responsibilities and growth. Security allows love to thrive. When a woman feels safe, she can be vulnerable, she can invest emotionally, she can trust. Passion, loyalty, and deep connection are born from a foundation where needs are respected and risks are managed. Machiavelli didn't claim that people are incapable of love or that relationships are doomed. He simply revealed that love is sustainable only when it aligns with human nature rather than fighting against it. Removing illusions allows for clarity, preparation, and genuine intimacy. Understanding this changes the way we approach relationships. It shifts the focus from chasing fantasy to becoming someone worth choosing. It emphasizes continual investment rather than assuming affection is permanent. It encourages building mutual respect, shared purpose, and meaningful support rather than relying on promises or ideals. Love is not automatic. It is cultivated, nurtured, and maintained through actions that reinforce trust and security. This perspective liberates rather than limits. It frees women to act wisely and compassionately, and it frees men to recognize the real foundations of lasting attachment. When both partners understand the principles Machiavelli observed, relationships transform. They are no longer fragile experiments of chance, but intentional collaborations where needs are met, risks are managed, and emotional investment is reciprocated. Ultimately, Machiavelli's message is both timeless and empowering. He asks us to strip away the illusions, to see relationships as they are, and to act with intelligence, empathy, and integrity. Security is the cornerstone of lasting love. It allows desire to flourish, loyalty to endure, and connection to deepen. It is not romantic fantasy. It is the practical human reality upon which all meaningful relationships are built. Welcome to a world where love is real, earned, and sustainable. A world where understanding, respect, and security create the conditions for passion, intimacy, and commitment to thrive. Machiavelli's insight endures because it reflects the truth of human nature. People, including women, invest where their well-being is protected and step away where it is not. Recognizing this truth allows us to build relationships that last, not because of idealized promises, but because they honor the real needs and realities of human hearts.